Okay, Martin, I want to come back to the corporate VC world here. When you're pitching to your internal builders at Bertelsmann, what is it that reaches them? Like, is it? I'm guessing that they don't particularly care about the tech that underpins all of this. Is it really the use case? Is it really saying like we can do something faster, cheaper, better? Like, talk me through that process. Like, what resonates with the people you're pitching to internally?
So interestingly, I mean, we are not actively pitching startups from our portfolio right now. For the let's say there is an exception, of course, if there's like something that we consider a perfect fit, then yes, we're doing that. But what they really are keen to understand is the business implication, as I just indicated before. And at the moment, I think it is really a process, and I think it's going to take at least one more year, maybe 1.5, to really unravel the new business paradigm. So what we are doing, for instance, is we take the experiences we connect from our fund investments. We've invested in Greenfield, for instance, in Europe, has been a very, very good partner for us. Our funds have invested directly in the US and in Asia. We've spoken to many very, very good funds on the continent, also to Maven 11. We've spoken to Cathay, and we learn from these people. And what we are learning is not only how to kind of evaluate and look at these types of Web3 companies. What we're learning is the actual types of businesses that are relevant to what we are doing right now. And I think what we will be doing going forward, and I think this is going to be the door opener for more concrete activities, is translate what we're seeing into educational output. And then we are taking the time to sit down for an hour and a half, do a workshop with the leadership of specific business units, specific divisions, and explain to them what this technology actually means. So this narrative of it being an infrastructure layer, for everyone here participating at this conference, it's absolutely obvious. You don't need to tell anyone. But I think in the corporate Web 2 world, it is really something that needs to be explained. And it needs to be explained why it is an infrastructure layer and how it functions technically. Not in detail, but they need to understand that there is a logic behind it. And once you can kind of disseminate this type of knowledge, and that only works when you see what is happening in the startup ecosystems, when you see what is being built at the moment, when you see how this is getting traction, then you are kind of laying, let's say, fertile grounds for further activities. So this is, I think, the focus. It is really not about concrete projects. It's really about learning and understanding.
I just think to that point, right, you're in Germany, and you talk about infrastructure and education. You know, Ethereum's like 7 years old. And it originally had like loads of cypherpunks in Germany who were building on Bitcoin and building on Ethereum, and now you're like a corporate, media giant talking about, building Web3 into your business lines. I mean, just think about what's been accomplished in that short period of time. It's not that long, really. And on the subject of infrastructure, the Maven 11 guys are amazing at this in terms of their research and their investments. But the stack's still getting rebuilt right now, whether it's modular blockchains, monolithic blockchains, whether it's, you can't really have like only an EVM world. I don't think that's good for the industry. You want to have alternatives. And, there's a company that, I've co-invested in with Maven, which is, taking on Flashbots, and they're building something really exciting. There's just, new companies that are still building at the kind of the infrastructure level. And I think that's going to really kind of transform a lot of our current doubts about use cases and utility on the blockchain. You're gonna get new quantums of scale. You're gonna get different varied use cases. I think the infrastructure space is still really gonna quite exciting and gonna transform in the next few years.
Absolutely, and I think, and this might sound a bit polemic, but ultimately this is the only thing that actually resonates with executives, obviously, is you need to explain to them, look, like this is a technology that might, in a given amount of time, we don't know how long, entirely disrupt everything we are doing here. And the ambition that every large media company should have at the moment, from my personal point of view, and the same is true obviously for the financial services realm, the same is true for supply chain, but specifically about media, the ambition must be that in Web3, the content that you own, the IP that you're owning, it shouldn't be outsourced to platforms like Netflix and Spotify. You should own these platforms as part of your IP. And I think only if you can explain to executives on a very, very high level why that technology is actually providing this new window of opportunity for such types of companies to come out of this new infrastructure layer. Only then there will be substantial awareness. And I think our leadership at Bertelsmann Investments particularly has done a great job to quite early understand it. And I would even go so far to say, because it's not the only initiative we have a tech and data team at Bertelsmann that has been looking into this in detail. They have established many different formats, educating everybody in the group. Everybody has been working together on this. I think we are quite early. But you cannot be early enough on this topic. And also it's not only about being early, it is about actually sticking to it, because it's going to take at least 2 to 3 years before we're seeing some substantial operational relevance for this. But I'm sure it will happen.
Yeah, one thing that I find interesting is that you say you have to own your platform, right? Now you have on Reddit all these blackouts going on of all the subreddits, because there's like a centralized entity who owns Reddit and they're shutting down the API. In a way, that reminds me a little bit of why Buterin founded Ethereum in the first place. His warlock got nerfed on World of Warcraft, I think, and he was like, oh no, I don't want this to happen, I'm going to start Ethereum. So one thing I'm keeping an eye on is like people who now visit Reddit a lot and are like, hey, shit, there's a centralized company who controls my sort of daily consumption of internet content. Let's try and decentralize that in some way. I don't know exactly how, that's up to the amazing founders, right? But that's something I definitely want to see more of. Yeah,
that would be a good pitch story, the new Vitaliks coming through, the 19-year-olds who've been like kicked out of their favorite subreddit and now they're going to take revenge on the world by starting a whole company. And yeah, okay. I want to see
I would love to meet those.
If you're out there, yeah. All right, we haven't got long left. Maybe last question, stick with Matthijs. I mean, in the spirit again of talking to the world outside of crypto, you're here to represent the more crypto native venture capital investor. What do you want to see from those people who aren't yet crypto converts? What can they bring to the party at this point? It's slightly a tricky question, but I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think I sort of just explained it, right? The subreddit stuff. Another sort of use case that you can easily pitch to people who are not into crypto is a company we backed. It's called Nimtech. What they do is like basically a VPN. And I think a lot of people use a VPN on a daily basis. And then there's a crypto element to it where you get incentivized to be part of the network. I think these sort of simple replacements of Web2 use cases are what you need to pitch first. I doubt, again, that my family will want to hear me talk with Steven about MEV a little bit more and how it impacts block building, etc.
So it's all about having a broader perspective, I guess, getting away from the jargon and the trading.
Keeping it a little bit easy. You said you needed a few dinners with your parents to explain what we do. Ideally, we would get that down to like 5 minutes. I think that's already a big help.